What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
All right. Is it Friday night already? What's going on? Hold on. I brought back a classic for you guys, which you guys were clamoring for last time. There we go. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Friday night. It's the Friday Night Radio Baloney live stream. I am your host, Richie Baloney. It looks like we got Rosie in the chat already. We got Rumbum in the chat as well. All right, what are you guys saying? Rats seem to be abandoning the sinking True China ship, but that hypocrite new commie party leader will never let a no confidence vote go through. Wouldn't want to lose his meal ticket or pension. Well, we'll be talking about that. I actually and that was from Rumbum. I just put a video out on that last night, by the way. So I go through it all in detail. And yeah, we'll get to that at some point tonight as well. So basically, there was what was called a supply and confidence agreement between the Liberals in Canada and the NDP. Then that would keep Trudeau in power. So basically, they would not vote no confidence in a confidence vote to force an election. The NDP has ripped up the agreement, but they apparently have no intention of getting Trudeau out, and there's reasons for that, and we'll get into that later. Let's see. All right, so what are we doing? What are we doing tonight? All right, everybody, what are we gonna look at? Not just this, although it's pretty darn good. Let's see. We've got judge delays Trump sentencing until after the election. Now, kind of tied into that, we've got some footage from Louder with Crowder, where they got an undercover video of a rep for the Department of Justice in Manhattan talking about how all these trials against Trump are just total nonsense. So we'll get to that. We're going to talk about this Tenet media thing. So if you haven't heard of what's going on, you probably have, but there's this thing called Tenet Media, and they came out of nowhere. It was Lauren Chen and her husband started this thing, and then they brought in what they did is they licensed content from like Tim Pool and Lauren Southern and Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson and a couple of others. Quite a lot of money, actually. But it turns out, well, what they're claiming anyway is what Merrick Garland is claiming is that this was financed by Russia. It kind of looks like it through RT, but it's kind of complicated. There's a lot of misinformation out about it. So we'll go through that. We'll actually look at the indictment itself and see what it actually says so we know what we're talking about. And then we'll know the truth, or at least what truth can be grasped at this time right now. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about, it's just not getting any better for the True China. Trudeau staffer shocked as national campaign director announces resignation. He says that he doesn't think that Trudeau can win. So he really can't. I mean, the writing's on the wall. Ain't going to happen. We'll talk about that. We're going to go through some Trump stuff. We're going to go through the video showing the undercover video. DOJ Chief of Public Affairs admits Trump indictments are politically motivated. We'll get to that. Very interesting stuff. Gavin Newsom vetoes bill giving $150,000, that's a lot of money, to non-citizens for down payment, cites finite funding. Maybe also too, there's an election going on right now, and maybe the Kamala campaign said, you know what, ixnay on the fucking crazy A right now. We got a campaign going. We don't want anybody confusing that with us. Of course, I'm sure Kamala would love to do something like this. But anyway, so he's vetoing that crazy bill in California to give $150,000 to non-citizens for down payments. Just crazy. Let's see. We'll take a quick look at just how unpopular was Kamala before everybody in the media forgot about how much they didn't like her. Well, we'll take a quick look at that. We've got some RFK talking about, what's he talking about? Why he endorsed Donald Trump, ending censorship, resolving the Ukraine war, and addressing the deteriorating health of American children. All good stuff. some weird stuff coming. Some weird stuff. Some people, like Anna Kasparian, I don't know why she's still on the left. She doesn't seem to like them very much. Cenk is saying some weird stuff too. Just stuff you wouldn't expect. Strange. We'll take a look at that. Got some some Brett Weinstein on Joe Rogan. We'll take a peek at that. We're gonna go through all this stuff with Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, and people are demanding an election now, but we'll get through it. We'll talk about that. We'll explain it all. Conservatives now lead Libs by 2-to-1 ratio. Not sure I've ever seen that, not just under Trudeau, but like ever. People want an election. I don't think they're going to get one. What else do we got here? I've always got the Kamala drunk tab open just because sometimes it's just fun to just go in and show Kamala drunk frequently. What's going on here? This is all the stuff that I have. Like, AOC looks pretty good there. It's not really AOC, but could it turn you socialist? I don't know. Socialists don't look like that, though. That's the thing. So we got all the stuff, the random stuff I put together. We got Matt Walsh talking about his new documentary, Am I Racist?, which looks hilarious. We got some Ricky Gervais here. I know you guys like that. We got a lady who gives you tips on how to get free seats on airplanes because you're just too fat. Lots of stuff, some Elon Musk stuff. We've got Schumer here, just, saying what everybody already knew. The goal is just citizenship for all the millions of people they've let in so that they can vote for them. Pretty obvious stuff. Babylon Bee is making a movie. It looks hilarious. What's this dog doing? He's pushing a chair. I wonder. I guess we'll find out. Look at this. Some adorable stuff in there. That's interesting. What is that about? I don't know. I guess we'll get to it later. Will Ferrell's got a documentary out again. I guess his friend decided to turn into a tranny and they go on a road trip together or something. And I don't know. We'll talk about that. Lots of stuff. What's he doing? I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. What's happening with them? Are those puppies going to kill that deer? God, I hope not. I guess we'll have to find out. Let's see. Lots of crazy. This is a clip from the Am I Racist movie, and it just chef's kiss on this one. I mean, this just reveals so much about the racist, anti-racist movement. All right. So, of course, we've got Grok versus Trudeau as well every Friday until Justin Trudeau is no longer in power. I will ask Grok to write a poem about Justin Trudeau. Grok is the only AI that will do this because of the details that we say must be in it. 2 details: must do blackface, must get a vaginoplasty, and at the end, he must be loaded into a giant cannon and launched into the moon. So, just as a taste of what you can expect from this poem, I'm doing this every Friday. If you haven't been to this channel before, I'm doing this every Friday until Justin Trudeau is no longer in power. It's getting harder and harder to do it. I've done dozens of these already. But just to give you a taste, we won't read the poem till later, but just to give you a taste right now, I asked Grok to write a poem about this. After Jagmeet Singh ripped up the supply and confidence agreement with the Liberal Party of Canada, Justin Trudeau dons brown face makeup and a turban and then climbs naked to the top of the Parliament building. He screams at the gathering crowd, "Jagmeet thinks he's so great, but can he do this?" Justin then shoves a pride flag into his rear, and then a team of doctors emerge and set up a temporary surgical room on the roof of the Parliament building, then proceed to give him a vaginoplasty operation. The horrified crowd below boos him and demands his resignation. The next day, Justin Trudeau is loaded into a giant cannon and launched into the sun. I wonder what Grok's going to come up with for that. I don't know, but it's going to be fun. Actually, I've already read it. It's pretty awesome. And then, of course, we have the puppy palate cleanser, which we're trying to add kittens to this as well as often as we can. And this is adorable. And don't worry, at no point will Justin Trudeau burst in here and try and give those puppies and kittens puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones. That's probably why they're hiding in this. I don't know, what is it, a dump or something? They're trying to get away from Trudeau. They know what a monster he is. And, of course, everybody was demanding this last time when we couldn't find it, but I found it for you guys. See how much I care? I genuinely care. This is how much I care. I do this for you. Took me hours to track this down. All right. So let's catch up with the chat before we get started. What's going on? Rumbum says, haha, found the vid I see. Yep. Yeah, I didn't forget. I care about you guys. Let's see. Started the video for JJ early. You'll have to play it again. Is JJ in? Oh, we're going to play that again. We're going to play this video here. We'll be playing that again. Don't you worry. Many times. Let's see. Hey, we got Michael Douglas back in the chat. Good to see ya. Now, just a reminder for anybody watching on YouTube right now, because of the censorship on StalinTube, we'll do like the first hour on both YouTube and on Rumble. So right now we're live on both Rumble and YouTube. We'll do probably about the first hour on both, and then we'll be signing off from YouTube. But it will continue. The show will continue on Rumble. So I will warn you when that's about to happen, and then I strongly suggest that you move over to Rumble to catch the rest of the show, because it's going to go on for hours and hours, probably like 6. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get bird flu and I won't be able to continue. Who knows? But if all goes well, we'll be going for quite some time, at least 5 hours anyway. Let's see. All right. So this is the part of the show where I strongly suggest the part of the show where I get Biden brain. That's the part of the show. This is the part of the show, the first part of the show, where I strongly suggest that if you're not subscribed to the channel, you subscribe right away. It's extremely important. I can't give you the details right now, but just trust me on this. It's extremely important. Also, liking the video awards you with a fairly hefty amount of positive good karma. So it's not the sort of thing that I would turn down personally. I can't make your choices for you, but it's not the sort of thing I would turn down. Not in these troubled times. Not with God knows what's happening with the economy. There's bird flus everywhere. Do I need karma? I sure do. You probably do as well. So anyway, do that immediately. It's very important. Now, people, shall we? Shall we just get on with the show? Judge delays Trump sentencing until after the election. So this is that Judge Merchan. The former president, Donald Trump, will not be sentenced in his New York criminal case until after the 2024 election. Judge Juan Merchan announced Friday, explaining that his decision to delay the sentencing is in part, get this, okay. So he's explaining that his decision to delay the sentencing is in part to avoid any appearance of affecting the outcome of the presidential race. Really? Well, that is rich, because it seems to me, it seems to many people, many commentators, that and many people watching, that the whole thing is about affecting the outcome of the presidential race. The whole thing about, like taking a misdemeanor and then trying to turn it into a felony, but nobody knows what the felony is, and then the jury got to choose from like 4 things that were never adjudicated in the first place. The whole thing seems like the whole thing has quite an appearance of something designed to affect the outcome of the presidential race. Seems kind of obvious, doesn't it? Let's I want to show you something. Okay. Breaking. DOJ Chief of Public Affairs admits Trump indictments are a politically motivated perversion of justice. That's what I was thinking. Reveals lawfare involved in making former president a convicted felon backfired on Democrats, claims his former colleague Alvin Bragg's case is nonsense, and alleges he was stacking charges. Okay, so let's just watch the video. You guys can see.
He was stacking charges and like rearranging things just to make it fit a case. Make the cases nonsense. So perversion of justice. To make him a convict, a convicted felon. Maybe that's his candidacy. He's a convicted felon.
It's a travesty of justice, a mockery of justice.
Travesty of justice, a mockery of justice. So now that guy has come out. That guy has come out. This guy here. Hold on. That guy, the DOJ spokesperson, he's come out and said, "Oh, well, no, I didn't actually mean that. I was just trying to impress somebody." Really? That's how you impress people? Sure. It seems like you were telling absolutely the truth. Let's see. He seemed pretty sincere about it when he was saying it. I don't know. Is that the sort of thing that you say to impress somebody? Seems strange to me. Hold on. Let's get that back up and going again.
Yeah. Nicholas Biasi is the Chief of Public Affairs for the Department of Justice's Southern District of New York. Something you may be familiar with, and the most prominent federal trial court in America.
Those felonies did nothing to stop Trump from running.
No, in fact, they made him more relevant.
Did that backfire?
Sure did.
And the whole thing is disgusting. They're just out to get him.
And that's why like the surging of the violence. It's a perversion of justice.
The whole thing is disgusting. They're just out to get him. It's a perversion of justice. This all seemed actually fairly self-evident.
He was stacking charges and like rearranging things just to make it fit a case. No, to be honest with you, I think the case is nonsense.
State levels are Wild West. They're like idiots. They don't care. They're all political. So yeah, this guy's probably going to try to lock him up.
Keep in mind, the feds declined to press charges on the same stuff. But you go to the States, it's like the Wild West, he says. He says that they're going to try and lock him up.
It's going to be ugly. They're so obsessed with getting him.
So obsessed with getting him. This is interesting. I mean, this all seemed fairly obvious, didn't it? It seemed fairly obvious all along. Oh, hold on a sec. Let me pull back up. Let's see. There we go. All right. Breaking: President Trump blasts politically motivated lawfare, citing Louder with Crowder Mug Club undercover bombshell in New York City press conference. Let's hear what Trump had to say here.
Today, there was a story about somebody in Southern District who's highly respected, knocking the hell out of both of those cases, say it's an embarrassment they were allowed to be brought. And
that's you, Mug Club.
Just revealed today, and I hope you're going to do a story because it's a big story. Southern District of New York was, and this is a very highly respected group of people. He said it was a disgrace that case was brought. It was a disgrace that the case was brought in front of Mershon. The case is a disgrace. Should have never been brought. Should have never been brought. And the case in front of Judge Engoron, just in terms of the case itself, we had 4 or 5 overturns in the appellate division. I only hope the appellate division, for the good of New York, otherwise you just say, God save the state. For the good of New York, I hope that the appellate division will do what's right on that case, because that case was a scam. But every single one of these cases that I'm mentioning, they're all hoaxes and scams. No different than there was a story about.
So he's talking there about the Jean E. Carroll one, the utterly ridiculous one, where it was an accusation from decades ago, where they had to change the statute of limitations. There was actually a Democrat politician who got caught up in that as well, and he was super pissed off because they changed the statute of limitations. But they had to change it just for a year. They had to change that so that they could charge him with this crazy thing from decades ago, where the accuser lied repeatedly, didn't know what year it was, said she was wearing a piece of clothing, an item of clothing that didn't yet exist, which they were able to prove. But New York, Manhattan, right? They're going to find Trump guilty. That's the whole purpose. And we just heard that DOJ spokesperson say it's the Wild West. Crazy. But for the time being, in any case, the sentencing for the Marchand trial has been delayed until after the election, which thank God, right? Like, I think Marchand, a lot of people were worried that they were going to actually put him in prison. But I think the judge wanted to. I mean, the whole thing was just rigged right from the start. It was an absurd case. So now, but I guess he lost his nerve, right? Because it would have just been too much. Or, even if he wanted to, maybe whoever he was taking orders from, because I assume he was taking orders from somebody, told him, no, this is too much. You can't do it. And he said, no, really, I want to. And they said, no, I'm sorry. We'll give you two people to persecute next year. They went, all right, then. So that kind of cools one fire out a little bit, right? I mean, if Trump doesn't win, yeah, they probably still throw him in prison. I think that if Trump doesn't win, they will try to completely destroy him. Like, just strip everything from him, strip his freedom away, all of his money, his family's money, everything. They'll try and destroy the family name, I think, just to make that example, to say, no more outsiders. No, this is the uniparty, and whatever we say goes, whether you're on the right or the left. There's really only one way to go. There's really only one set of policies and one set of goals. All right, what are you guys talking about? Let's see. Looks like the gang's all showing up. We got Radio Streamer in the chat. Let's see. Streamer's a Mug Club member. It's got a lot of great content. Granted, it lacks the meaty. It lacks the ad reads that he craves. That Radio Streamer craves. I know, you get them here. I work hard for that 60 cents I get for those ad reads. Let's see. You know what? I just checked the ad reads, and there's nothing available right now. Oh, maybe I'll refresh it. No, nothing. No campaigns. Maybe there won't be any ad reads tonight, guys. I don't know if that happens. It's not my fault. I know you guys love them. Let's see. What else you guys got to say here? What are we, 25 minutes in already? Jeez. Let's see. Where was I in the chat there? Okay. We got George Kirby in the chat. Good to see ya. Says I'm Morris. I don't know what that. Okay. Did you correct yourself down there anywhere? I can't see. I'll have to come, but you'll have to read something. I always impress people by lying about documents and charges. Yeah, I know it's yeah. We all know that he was telling the truth there. Got JJ Nevada in the chat. He says, "Hey, all you True Gina lovers. True Gina lovers. I think you got the wrong crowd." Let's see. Rumbum says, "I wonder if the judge is holding out because they want to be able to point to the looming judgment in attack ads because they know if it's before the election, it'll be thrown out or help Trump." Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Who knows? I mean, the whole thing is political. It's a political reason. That's a certainty. In fact, he says his claim here is that he's saying he wants to avoid any appearance of affecting the outcome of a presidential race after putting him through this witch trial. That's what he wants to do. Amazing. Wow. What a man of character. What a man of character. Let's see. Rumbum says, yeah, they will go after him 1,000 times harder if he doesn't win. Yeah, I think they'll try and completely just destroy the family, like the whole family, just as an example. Say, no outsiders from now on. Only insiders. Only people who will respect the rules of the game. No getting your own ideas. Let's see. Rumbum says, you do the ads too well, radio. You make everyone else look bad, so they gotta give them a chance. I'm sure that's what's happening. It's saying that I'm the little things coming up saying that I should have ads to read, but then I go and then there's nothing. Huh. Oh, well, I guess I'm not making $1.37 tonight. All right. JJ means lovers of the word Trugina, not the person. That's right. We love the word Trugina. Also Trutard and Trutarded, but not the person. Not the person at all. Dislike the person immensely. All right, let's move on to this Tenet media thing. Okay, what does Merrick Garland have to say? Let's watch this.
The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead, the defendants and the company claimed that the company was sponsored by a private investor. But that private investor was a fictitious persona. The company never disclosed to the influencers.
Okay, so Tenet Media, which was started in 2023 by Lauren Chen and her husband, and licensed content from people like this guy, Taylor Hanson, who has had his channel now deleted from YouTube over an accusation. In fact, you heard from Merrick Garland himself there that everybody that they were licensing content from was deceived. So seems like just an excuse to get rid of conservatives right before an election. You know, that's another thing too, isn't it? It's another thing too. It's a couple of months before an election, all of a sudden this happens. Very strange. Very, very strange. Okay. Hold on a second. Got some other stuff here. All right, so let's hear a little bit from Glenn Greenwald. Now, he's talking here about the fact that it's $10 million, which is the alleged amount of money. $10 million to spread, pro-Russia, and some of the disinformation merchants in the media and online are saying to support Trump. $10 million is absolutely nothing. All right, just to give you a quick breakdown. Okay, so there's two Russian guys. They worked for RT. I guess they knew Lauren Chen because she did some work for RT. They contacted her to start up this thing called Tenet Media, right? Where there was, I guess, $10 million worth of funding. And she was supposed to bring in well-known conservatives to license some of their content to put on the Tenet Media channel. Now let's quickly go to, so the Tenet Media channel on YouTube has been taken down, but it's still up on Rumble. So let's take a look at the content here. So you can see there's Tim Pool was one of them for his culture war stuff, not his regular, not Timcast IRL, any of that. The culture war stuff, which is generally not political. You have Matt Christensen there, Taylor Hanson, Benny Johnson. You have Lauren Southern there. Now let's take a look. They weren't getting much traction on Rumble. See, 3.66 thousand views, 4,000 views, 6,000, 3,000. But let's take a look. She's literally saying nothing. So Kamala's first interview, migrant gang takeover Colorado. What have we got? This all is just the stuff here. Culture war, creationism versus simulation theory. This is just either stuff that's not even political or just the stuff they would normally do anyway. So the whole thing is very odd, very, very odd. If it is indeed some sort of influence operation, it's like the most incompetent one ever, because what you just pay people to do what they were going to do anyway. The whole thing seems very strange to me. Let's hear Glenn Greenwald talk about it, and then we'll go to the indictment itself.
Here you see on the screen the indictment from, actually, this is the press release from the Justice Department. Now, just remember, we're talking here about the Biden Justice Department indicting the Russians 2 months before an election based on the obvious narrative that the Russians are interfering in our sacred democracy in order, once again, to elect Donald Trump. It is a complete politicization and abuse of the justice system in the most flagrant ways possible. The headline reads, quote, 2 RT employees are indicted for covertly funding and directing U.S. companies that publish thousands of videos in furtherance of Russian interests. Quote, an indictment charging Russian nationals Konstantin Kalashnikov, 31, also known as Kostya, and Elena Avansevia, 27, also known as Lena, with conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Restrictions Act and conspiracy to commit money laundering was unsealed today in a New York court. They're both at large. The Justice Department has charged the 2 employees of RT, a Russian state-controlled media, in a $10 million scheme to create and distribute content to U.S. audiences with hidden Russian government messaging, said Attorney General Merrick Garland. Quote, the Justice Department will not tolerate attempts by an authoritarian regime to exploit our country's free exchange of ideas in order to covertly fund its own propaganda efforts. And our investigation today into this matter remains ongoing. Now, just to give you a little bit of context, again, let's assume everything in the indictment is true, even though it's just a series of government unproven assertions that a grand jury accepted, because as the old saying goes, a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich, because there's no defendant there to contest anything. They only hear the prosecutor's version of events. So let's assume that everything is true, that basically the crux of the allegation that the media predictably is trumpeting all over the place is that RT spent roughly $10 million in order to pay for the placement of videos that do things like question the war in Ukraine, that criticize U.S. Foreign policy. And the argument is that it was done with disguise. In other words, they pretended that it was an American company that was actually offering this money, entering into a contract, when in fact it was the Russians behind it, and that was concealed. $10 million, put that into context, $10 million. In August alone, the Kamala Harris campaign, in 1 month, raised $230 million. The Trump campaign, just this month, raised $180 million. Presidential campaigns of the major parties now spend close to $1 billion in total, $1 billion just on paid advertising.
And you know what? Let's just check something out here. Let's just do a quick fact check. Okay, because I've got something here. Most expensive ever. 2020 election cost $14.4 billion. $14.4 billion. Now, this is $10 million. Again, let's go to the Tenet Rumble page. And it's all just the stuff that they always do anyway. What about the Ukraine stuff here? This is the stuff that they licensed, that they paid for, that they're able to put on their own channel, right? Just the DNC protests overrun. He tortures the DNC. There's the Jimmy Dore. DNC abortion propaganda. This is all just the normal stuff that they do, right? Something about this is very odd, especially considering it's 2 months before an election. This big thing that they're trumpeting. They've had a press they've had a press conference for 2 months before the election that now the media is running away with, and every leftist commentator is running away with. Right within the indictment itself, it says that all of these people were victims because they were all fooled. They were all tricked. None of these people knew where the money was coming from. I know that Tim Pool has said, I know that Benny Johnson has said, Dave Rubin as well has done stuff with them, I believe. And they've all said that there was no editorial control from anybody other than themselves. They had complete editorial control themselves. They were just simply licensing out content that they were going to make anyway. Something seems very strange. Let's take a look at the indictment itself. So who are the actual defendants here? So everybody's accusing Tim Pool and everybody else in this, and Lauren Southern all of taking Russian money to be Russian shills to promote Russian causes. Well, the only defendants here are this Konstantin Kalishnikov and Elena Afanaseva. I don't know how you say it. Also known as Lena. So Konstantin Kalashnikov and Lena. Those are the defendants. Nobody else. RT, formerly known as Russia Today, is a state-controlled media outlet funded and directed by the government of Russia. I mean, kind of like CBC or BBC, kind of like that. I mean, those are both state-funded, right? That's basically state media. When you watch it, it feels like state media, I can tell you. Hey, we got Antipop in the chat. Good to see you. Did I welcome in JJ yet? If not, here you go. All right. Over the past year, RT and its employees, including Konstantin Kalashnikov, also known as Kostya, and Elena, also known as Lena, the defendants have deployed nearly $10 million laundered through a network of foreign shell entities to covertly fund and direct U.S. Company One. I just want to go back to this again. 2020 election cost $14.4 billion. $10 million is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. You can't expect to have much impact with that, especially when you have no editorial control over the content creators. Now, I don't know about Lauren Chen, but let's take a look at Lauren Chen's videos. So her channel has been taken down on YouTube as well. Hers, Lauren Southern's, and now this Taylor Hanson as well. Their YouTube channels have all been taken down on allegations, not been proven guilty of anything. It's almost like they were just waiting for an excuse, which this isn't even an excuse. Again, they're not even, the defendants are these two Russians, according to this sealed indictment. But let's take a look. Ben caught spying on her, sexism psyop. Stop being white about that. What's her name? Caitlin Clark, the basketball player. It's getting a lot of grief. Trump's last 72 hours. Chris Cuomo caught. Media Matters. Elon killed them. Pride Month is canceled. I'm not seeing any Russia stuff here. I mean, I don't watch her stuff. What I've heard is that there's been a lot of divisive stuff regarding abortion and stuff that may be divisive within Trump supporters, within MAGA itself, which that wouldn't be helping Trump get elected. So again, the whole thing is very, very odd. Something very strange about this, especially 2 months before an election. Let's see. While the views expressed in the videos are not uniform, the subject matter and content of the videos are often consistent with the government of Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions in order to weaken U.S. opposition to core government of Russia interests, such as its ongoing war in Ukraine. And again, the thing is that everybody was just making the videos they're going to make anyway. Like nobody's and exercising their own editorial control. I don't know about Lauren Chen. That her and her husband are a different case in this because they're the founders of the company, of Tenet Media. And according to this, it looks like they knew that these were Russians involved and they deceived everybody else, Tim Pool and all the rest of them. And we'll get to that. There's a fake French character, it doesn't exist, that apparently was used as a kind of figurehead for it to deceive everybody else about where the money was actually coming from, that it wasn't coming from Russia. Again, these are allegations right now. Since publicly launching in or about November 2023, U.S. Company One, that would be Tenet Media, has posted nearly 2,000 videos and have garnered more than 16 million views on YouTube alone. 16 million views on YouTube is nothing. I've got a YouTube short that's got over 2 million views and another one with like 1.5 million views or something like that. 16 million views on YouTube is absolutely nothing. It's totally trivial. US Mr. Beast videos are in the hundreds of millions. US Company One never disclosed to its viewers that it was funded and directed by Russia Today. Nor did US Company One or its two founders and principal executives, Founder One and Founder Two, register with the Attorney General as an agent of a foreign principal as required by law. So this is getting into FARA law. So Foreign Agent Registry Act. Kalashnikov and Lena, Founder One and Founder Two, also worked together to deceive two U.S. online commentators, Commentator One and Commentator Two. Now, the speculation is that is Tim Pool and Benny Johnson, who respectively have over 2.4 million and 1.3 million YouTube subscribers. And Tim Pool has confirmed that he is involved in this. They've asked him to voluntarily talk to them, but as a victim, not as a suspect. Although I know he's going to be taking 50 lawyers with him, and I think that's probably a great idea. Founder One and Founder Two, that would be Lauren Chen and her husband, contracted with Commentator One and Commentator Two to produce videos using Commentator One's and Commentator Two's own names and leveraging their existing audience for license and publication by U.S. Company One. So licensing out content that they make to them so they could use it and do things like put it on their own, the Tenet Media channels, wherever they may be. Kalashnikov and Afanasyeva, Founder One and Founder Two, worked together to mask U.S. Company One's true source of funding, i.e., RT, by falsely portraying to Commentator One and Commentator Two that U.S. Company One was sponsored by a private investor named Edward Grigorian. In truth and in fact, Grigorian was a fictional persona. For example, during contract negotiations, Commentator One requested that Founder One provide a profile or article on Edward Grigorian. In response, Founder One sent Commentator Two a one-page profile provided to Founder One by another fictional persona purporting to represent Edward Grigorian, falsely describing Edward Grigorian as an accomplished finance professional who had held various positions in Brussels and France at a multinational bank, including director of private bank. So, okay, a fake persona. And we've actually got, if we go down a bit, they've got a copy of that one-page bio of this guy. Let's take a look. So this is what they were sent. So this is all made up. This guy is fake. And this was sent out in order to trick it. It may be that Lauren Chen and her husband themselves were also duped as well. So even though she has that Russia Today connection, so we don't know. I mean, these are just charges. We've seen through the lawfare against Trump that a lot of things can happen that aren't fair. Let's just put it that way. All right. But as you can see, the commentators, the Tim Pools, the rest of them were fooled. And in fact, let's go back to Merrick Garland here. He tells us himself.
The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead, the defendants and the company claimed that the company was sponsored by a private investor. But that private investor was a fictitious persona. The company never disclosed.
So the creators themselves were making content they were making anyway. I haven't seen any editorial change whatsoever from any of their content. They didn't know. Merrick Garland is saying they didn't know. So the question then comes down to the founders of the company, Lauren Chen and her husband, and I don't know. I have no idea what's happening there. It looks odd, but things can be framed in such a way. So I don't know. All I know is that accused doesn't mean guilty. Did I have anything else important down here? No, I don't think so. Okay. So in the meantime, this guy, who was part of Tenet, has been permanently banned on YouTube with no explanation. Again, he's not been found guilty of anything. In fact, the Department of Justice has said that all of the creators were faultless in this, right? They were deceived. Why would YouTube just go ahead and do that? Not just him, also Lauren Chen herself banned on YouTube. Lauren Southern also banned on YouTube. 2 months before an election as well. The fact that this comes out 2 months before an election, they must have been working on this for a long time. It all seems very strange to me. Again, $10 million is nothing in a election that 2020 was $14.4 billion. 16 million views on these videos. That's nothing. That is nothing on social media. That is nothing on the internet. 16 million views, really? Now, the amount of money they were handing out, like $100,000 a video, that never made any sense. Nobody knew that except for the creators and the company themselves. That doesn't make any sense. There's no way that could have been making money. But the whole thing is very, very strange. Let's see, what does this guy say?
So, just permanently banned on YouTube, no explanation at all. Says I can never own a channel or operate a channel ever again, so that's lovely. Obviously admits the DOJ indictment of the alleged activities of Russian funding. Tenet Media was banned almost immediately. Lauren Chen was banned almost immediately, and now I was banned with no explanation, even though the indictment states, if these charges are true, these allegations are true, we're all victims, the people that were hosts there and me as a reporter there. So it's interesting. It seems like the censorship czar is back out in full force. It's election season, baby. So yeah, banned with no explanation. I wonder if they're going to stop here, or are they just going to take it all the way? They're going to ban anyone that was ever affiliated with this brand, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. But there you go.
Again, Merrick Garland came out and said these people were all deceived. They are victims. Let's see. Here's Tucker talking about this.
Yeah, Kamala's losing, which she is. She's losing in the states that matter. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona. It's amazing. So all of a sudden, the other side is being funded by Russia. Of all the countries that interfere in our elections, and there are many, Russia's at the bottom of the list, okay, in terms of effectiveness. But it's they're literally going back to the Russia. Well, again?
Yeah, I think
this is not a super clever group, right?
I think the problem is they are actually a super clever group. I think that this is just the beginning of a volley. So this one's not going to land. I think
Well, not the media has jumped all over it. I mean, this is the sort of thing they completely, absolutely love 1,000%. Here's Dan Bongino had something. Dan Bongino had something interesting to say about it. Let's take a look.
But I'd be remiss as a former federal agent to not warn people that given these accusations, are other people, I'm not accusing anyone specifically, I want to be clear. Are people working with the feds right now to try to ensnare other conservative influencers into this alleged operation? I'm just going to say this. Be very careful who you're emailing, and be very careful who you're talking to, and be very careful that you're not talking to someone working with the feds on the other end of the line. But
yeah, the whole thing seems kind of weird, right? The whole thing seems kind of sketchy. It doesn't really make any sense. It seems like there's something a bit off going on. How about what's from Barnes and Viva here? Let's take a look.
Oh, one other little tangent on the Russia thing. If this was really an RT effort, it would have been much more sophisticated, much more creative, much more innovative, and they would have targeted a whole different set of people. Lauren Chan's never been geopolitically savvy, nor followed for her geopolitics. Tim Pool, in the few instances he gets off a fence, which isn't all that common, let's be honest. He's been anti-Russian most of the time he's been on there. It took him a while to even second guess the Ukrainian war. The Benny Johnson, I like Benny's okay, but you're not going to look to him for geopolitics. And once again, not someone who's ever been pro-Putin or Russia. Dave Urban, same thing. He's a libertarian war skeptic, but there again, not aligned on those issues. So those wouldn't have been the people they pitched anyway. The other giveaway that it was a spook operation, they stayed away from the people who would have smelled it, smoked it out really fast. So, like, for example, if you were really, even if you wanted to set this up as someone that's pro-Russian, if you were a spook operation that had confidence you wouldn't get caught, then you'd reach out to people like me and Viva, right? They didn't, because it would have smelled it 10 miles away. So that was another giveaway, by the way. Who they talked to.
Giving money to people to do what they were already doing before seems like a poor use of funds for an influence operation, doesn't it? Again, none of this really adds up particularly well. So Ashley St. Clair, she says this. A DOJ indictment suggests that Lauren Chan is an alleged Russian agent who is said to have accepted upwards of $10 million to start Tenet Media and push divisive political rhetoric, Russian propaganda in the U.S. Chan has encouraged Republicans to withhold their vote for Trump for not being conservative and pro-life enough. She has also advocated against the 19th Amendment and said Hamas rioters on college campuses were being arrested for free speech. She has stated that Trump has abandoned Christian conservatives for the Enriques and Jamals. Seriously, so let's watch a bit of this clip.
Exer was misogynist because he said there's two genders, right? But what I see on the right is actual genuine misogyny.
I don't know that that's organic, and I may be stepping into my own conspiracies here, but I don't think it's coincidental that right before the election, the right becomes the exact caricature of what the left had said the right was for years, and it wasn't. Many of us on the right knew that the right was not, this anti-Semitic, misogynistic group of folks, and now all of a sudden we're seeing this rise in misogynistic rhetoric and people who fundamentally believe that women shouldn't vote.
Of you out there who will just say, well, it's simple, we need to repeal the 19th. And trust me, I am no fan of the 19th Amendment myself. So it turns out that some portions of the internet are just now finding out that I don't actually support democracy, and they're very upset about it.
And people who fundamentally are siding with the people taking.
So what she's saying is that she's causing division within the MAGA movement and telling people to, withhold their vote for Trump for not being conservative. So this wouldn't be helping Trump in any case, right? This would be helping Kamala. Now, Putin did just come out and say that he prefers he's rooting for Kamala. I think he was joking. I don't take it very seriously. I think he was just fucking around. But again, why would you get this person, pay this person to do pro-Trump content? And I guess the other side of it would be just pro-Russia content. But as far as I can tell, nobody's actually changed their content editorially around like war, right? Like Tim Pool has been against funding that the Ukraine war for forever, basically, since it started. So I don't know, the whole thing just feels very weird, doesn't it? It feels very strange, like strangely unnecessary. Why would you want to give all this money to creators to just keep doing what they were going to do anyway, even if you hadn't given them the money, especially people who have lots of money already? Very weird, isn't it? Let's see. Brianna Wu. Wasn't expecting this. I'm not going to focus on this today, but I do want to say this publicly. I have plenty of political differences with Lauren Southern, but the idea that she is a Russian agent is just laughable and has no evidence. There's actually a long, consistent history of her turning down money to promote certain ideas, not the opposite. The whole thing feels pretty weird. David Sachs. Let's take a look at this. Lauren Chen Tenet was riling up pro-lifers and repeal the 19th fanatics against Trump. So what you're saying is Putin ran an op to get Harris elected. This actually makes sense. Harris is too scared to take a question on the tarmac. Putin prefers her weakness to Trump's strength. Well, Putin basically, I think, is very comfortable where he is right now with the Ukraine war because he's winning. It's a war of attrition, essentially, and he's grinding down the Ukrainians to the point where it may be soon that because look, it just comes down to numbers. It comes down to logistics. They have a lot more people. They have a lot more weapons. Ukraine has basically a non-existent economy at this point. Russia has a much larger economy, obviously. You don't need to be a military expert or expert in military history or strategy or anything like this. The more powerful side will win eventually. In a war of attrition, they will win, right? I think Putin is very comfortable. And by the way, I'm not pro-Putin. I'm not pro-Russia. I'm not pro-Ukraine. I don't think we should have anything to do with it, frankly. But it's just reality, right? What's the reality on the ground in a war? In an attritional war, is that the guy with more soldiers, more arms, more material, and also more time because of that, eventually they're going to win. Right? That's just the way it goes. Like there's no magic way out of that. So I think Putin's very comfortable right now. And if Trump gets in, Trump is going to force the issue. He's going to force the issue in terms of coming to a peaceful resolution. And Trump will do that very, very forcefully. He'll have the carrot and the stick will hurt with Trump. With Harris, it'll just be more of the same. Just kind of keep sending weapons, but it's not enough. And it's actually no amount you can send over there anyway. And Putin just ends up grinding them down. Eventually, the front collapses and he takes the entire eastern third of Ukraine right up to the Dnieper River, which is an excellent defensive line. So I think that it would make sense that Putin would actually prefer Harris because he can just keep doing what he's doing. Right? It's not like Putin's like a nice guy who's worried about people dying, right? I don't think so. All right, let's from the quartering, just for your information, you can feel however you want about Watch Tenet now. YouTube deleted their entire channel as well as Lauren Chen's personal channel without a trial, without a guilty verdict. A simple claim of wrongdoing is all it took. Their channels are still live on Rumble Video. Of course, again, very fast. 2 months before an election as well, this whole thing. None of it really makes any sense. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense these days, isn't there? Okay, we got a little bit more, and then we'll get off of this. And we'll move on to the next thing. David Sachs, for years, Russiagate hoaxers told us Putin was interfering in our elections to help Trump. Then it turns out Tenet Media was agitating against Trump. Okay, so evidently Putin is working for Harris. Hoaxers can't admit that, so now they claim the objective is chaos. Huge backtrack. You can't cause much chaos with $10 million in a $14 million election or whatever it's going to be. That's how much it was in 2020. How about this one from David Sachs again? Even by the standards of Russia hoaxes, the Tenet Media Lauren Chen case makes no sense. Chen was rallying up pro-lifers against Trump. Cernovich, Steve Deese, and others had been calling out these purists for weeks, and now they're vindicated. Chen was also pushing a repeal the 19th message that was so fanatical that it seemed designed to discredit conservatives. The indictment explicitly states that none of the conservative podcasters recruited by Tenet knew this was Russian influence. And I wouldn't call Tim Pool, by the way, a conservative. They were likely hired to boost the Tenet channel. But to what end? Tenet wasn't helpful to Trump at all. So was Putin trying to get Biden-Harris reelected? That's effectively the claim. Given how little makes sense here, only Joe McCarthy wannabes are running with this and making accusations. The podcasters who are being smeared, despite the DOJ itself exonerating them, should consider filing some defamation suits. As far as Red Scares go, this one seems pretty lame and people are seeing through it. Hopefully this means we're at the end of Russiagate hoaxes. No way. No way. I'm sure there's way more coming. People are shameless. All right. So there's that one. And again, I think I want to show just one more time what Merrick Garland said.
The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead, the defendants and the company claimed that the company was sponsored by a private investor. But that private investor was a fictitious persona. The company.
So there you go. All right, let's get to back to the chat for a minute before we move on to the next story. POTUS George Kirby says, American journalists from U.S. newspapers and TV stations went to China and studied propaganda, all paid for by the CCP. That's something we should do a fact check on at some point. Not right this second. Antipop says, I just fell from the coconut tree. Uh-oh.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Well, I hope you feel better, Antipop. Antipop says 10 million is enough. 10 million is enough to do nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. 16 million views in the indictment that I read. Gee, guys, they're claiming 16 million views. That is nothing. I said, my tiny channel on YouTube got over 2 million views on a short that I put out. And another short had about 1.5 million. And so there's 4 million right there. Like, it's nothing. That is absolutely nothing. The whole thing doesn't make any sense, I gotta say. Kirby says, Al Jazeera gets paid by who? Isn't it Qatar? Let's see. George Kirby says, RT had some good stuff. J-Reg did a segment on there. I haven't watched any Russia Today for a while. I used to watch it sometimes. It seemed all right. I mean, of course, there's a bias there. But I look, I have to watch the CBC, right? I have to watch the CBC, which is state media, state-funded media. All right. So yeah, I'm used to seeing bias in state-funded media. You ever watch the BBC? BBC International? Yeah, you want to see some bias? So again, it's like I'm not like some Russia Today fanboy either. I'm not a fan of state media at all. I don't think it should exist. All of them. Kirby says, how much you want to bet this is a damn plot somehow? The whole thing feels very weird to me. Again, none of it actually makes any sense. Like how incompetent of a plot is it to license content from creators who are we're going to do the content anyway, like with no editorial control. Like there's no way they could have been influenced in the first place because they had no idea that Russia had anything to do with it. If indeed it did. And who knows at this point? Who knows? Will this thing just disappear? Will this thing get memory hold? Will it actually end up going nowhere? Nobody will ever hear from it again? Who knows? Nevada says, I check RT News every day. They do pretty good. Yeah, I don't find it more offensive than I find the CBC or BBC. I just don't think that state media should exist at all. I think it should be outlawed. And Nevada says, Putin said he likes Kamala or Kabama. He did. It sounded like he was joking, but it makes more sense, though. I mean, I think Kamala would be better for Putin. Again, I think it would allow him, because she's not going to demand. She's not going to come with the stick and the carrot to try and demand some sort of peace deal in Ukraine. She wants it to keep going forever. She wants it to be a forever war. Trump will. I think Putin's quite comfortable with the way things are going in Ukraine right now. It's just a matter of time of just continually grinding them down. Since that Kursk salient was created, they've gone into overdrive. All of a sudden, they're making 10 times as many gains in the Donbass region. So I think Putin's quite fine with that. I think he would like to now continue the war until he takes the whole eastern third of Ukraine behind the Dnieper River. Kirby says it's always the French. Literally any Englishman ever. They still don't like the French. Rosie says, I like that word, Kabama. Sounds like a comic book curse and perfectly titles the puppet show. Yeah. The Kabama show. Let's see. You guys are putting in so many chats here. I got to scroll down to the end here. It'll take me all night to get through these. Hey, we got Candle Monkey in the chat. Good to see ya. Candle Monkey says, I would let Putin score if he skated in on me. Yeah, I would too. Anybody would, unless you want some sort of nuclear atoms in your tea. Polonium. Is that what it was? Polonium? In fact, you know what? Fact check. Okay. We are going to do something. I am going to look up Putin scores goal Hockey. Okay, hold on one second. I'm going to start looking these things up on the other screen because I just think it looks better that way. Let's see. Vladimir Putin. Okay, how about this one? All right, hold on a sec. Vladimir Putin scores 8 goals in ice hockey match. It's pretty funny. The video I've seen video of him. It's clear that they're just letting him score. It's like, just let him score. I don't want to go to the gulag. All right. How long is this ad? God damn it. Okay. There he is. They just let him skate in. Joanna die? No? Just let him score.
Мне показалось изначально сделать передачу на пятак, но в принципе так и выходит. И Владимир Путин с неудобной забрасывает вторую шайбу. Подработал сейчас на пятачке, переиграл.
I mean, he's acting like it's real. Like what's happening is real around him. As if he's really good. Okay, he's not that good. I guess that's the secret.
Не успел тот шайбу зафиксировать ловушкой. Под сборной ночной хоккейной лиги смотрим мы на повторе, как это было. Все было достаточно просто. Вот с этого ракурса я видел, что шайба на репре катилась. Неудобно было бросать.
Like, they're treating him like a Make-A-Wish kid out there, you know? It's pretty funny. Just let him score. Are you crazy? Don't stop him. Just let him score. All right. Antipup says, don't let Putin park in front of the net like that. You will if you know what's good for you. Let's see. George Kirby says, defund PBS. See, PBS does it kind of a tricky way in that they don't actually get a lot of direct funding from the government, but it's like government agencies spend with PBS. So they have kind of like a sneaky way of funding themselves so they can be propaganda. Let's see. Antipup says Russia, Iran is an interesting dynamic. Well, they're part of the, are they part of BRICS now? Like Brazil, Russia, India, China. I think Iran is in there too, right? Let's see. Nevada says, that's hilarious. That was funny. Rosie's asking George Kirby, did Biden ever do any sports? I don't think he did he? I don't think he did. I think he just went into politics at like 28 or something, and then he just did that forever. So where are we right now? We're an hour and 15 in, so I'm afraid we're going to have to shut down the YouTube part of the stream because it's, well, we call it Stalin Tube or Mao Tube. You can call it whatever you want. You could even call it, I don't know, Pol Pot Tube or Castro Tube. I don't know. But you get the point. Censorship. I've had some censorship problems with YouTube lately. So we can't do the whole many hours that we do on this stream on both Rumble and YouTube for the whole time. So we'll continue on with Rumble, who doesn't hate me and doesn't hate the people that watch these videos or the people in the chat. And we will have to shut off the YouTube part, even though I love you guys on YouTube. And I'm going to ask you come over to Rumble. The water's great. The water's fine. Even if you have to start up an account over there really quick, take you like 2 minutes. Then you can subscribe to Radio Baloney and then just go there and look for me. When you want to watch Radio Baloney, just look for me over there. I'll be there. I'm here all the time, constantly over here. You can't miss me. Anyway, thanks you guys. I hope to see you over on Rumble, but we got to say good night. And if we don't see you on Rumble, I guess we'll see you on Sunday. Ah.